All right, so ready for a deep dive?
Always. What are we diving into today?
Well, we got a ton of requests to unpack Aries and Sagittarius compatibility.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, and let me tell you, this astrology text does not disappoint.
I can imagine those are two pretty fiery signs.
Oh, yeah, big time. And we're talking passion, honesty, maybe a little bit of drama, too, you know?
Yeah, a little bit of spice. I'm intrigued.
This source is amazing. It actually starts with, okay, you're gonna laugh, bedroom compatibility.
Oh, wow. Jumping right in. I like it.
I know, right? And apparently Sagittarius brings this playful, almost jokester energy to intimacy, while Aries is much more serious, intense.
That's interesting. See, because they're both fire signs, right? So you
Mm.
think that energy would manifest in a similar way, but it's so different.
And that's what I love about this source. It's like it gets that fire sign energy can be like explosive and passionate,
Cool.
but it expresses itself in these really distinct ways.
It's true. When you think about it, Aries is ruled by Mars, the planet of action.
Yeah.
So their passion is very much about the experience, like diving headfirst into the moment.
Yeah.
And then you have Sagittarius, ruled by Jupiter, which is all about expansion, wisdom, always searching for knowledge.
Always exploring.
So their passion lies more in that exploration.
It's more cerebral.
In a way, yeah.
Yeah.
For Aries, passion is about the doing, and for Sagittarius, it's about the discovering.
So it's less about what they're doing and more about the energy they bring.
Exactly. It could be anything,
Yeah.
debating philosophy one minute, then off on some crazy adventure the next.
As long as it's intense. Right?
Exactly. And speaking of intense, this source talks about how honesty is huge for both of them. Like, they can spot a lie from a mile away.
Oh, that's interesting. So trust is a big deal?
Oh, yeah, foundational.
But does that always work out well? What happens if they have different ideas about, say, fidelity?
Ah, yeah, good point.
Like if one of them is more, it's okay to experiment, and the other's like, absolutely not.
Right. Well, that's where those different interpretations of honesty come into play.
Mm-hmm.
So even though they both value it,
Right.
their definitions of what counts as betrayal might be different.
That makes sense.
Like Aries, being ruled by Mars can be very passionate, maybe a
Wow.
little possessive.
Uh-huh.
Whereas Sagittarius, with that love of freedom, might not see infidelity as such a huge deal, at least not.
Especially if the relationship's not super serious yet.
Exactly. If those two perspectives clash, watch out.
Yeah, talk about explosive arguments.
Oh, absolutely. Especially since neither one backs down easily.
Oh, no.
And what's funny? This actually ties into their intellectual connection, which the source says is another point of compatibility.
Really?
Yeah. Remember how we were talking about Aries being ruled by Mars?
Yeah.
All about taking charge?
Yeah.
And Sagittarius being ruled by Jupiter, the expander?
Right.
So imagine those two energies in a conversation.
Oh, wow. So it's like Aries throws out this bold statement, and then Sagittarius just runs with it.
Exactly. Building on it, adding layers, philosophical tangents. It's a whirlwind.
That's amazing.
And the best part is, they both just want to get to the truth of the matter.
So even when it gets heated,
Oh, it gets heated.
it's never malicious.
Exactly. The source even says this dynamic often leads to really strong friendships between Aries and Sagittarius.
Even if they're not romantically involved.
Even then, they just get each other.
I love that because we often associate fire signs with all that passion and impulsivity.
Right, totally.
But there's this whole intellectual side.
Oh, yeah. It's just as fiery, if not more so.
And that actually brings us to another interesting point, emotions.
Okay, how so?
Well, the source talks about how when Aries and Sagittarius fall in love, it's like this bonfire on a snowy night, you can almost feel the warmth radiating from them.
That's a beautiful image.
Mhm.
It really is. It makes you feel all warm and fuzzy inside, doesn't it?
It does. But what does that warmth actually look like, in their day-to-day interactions? How does it compare to the way other elements express love?
Yeah, that's a great question. Because when we think about, say, water signs.
Right, like Cancer, Pisces.
Exactly. We think of deep emotions.
Yeah.
Sensitivity, right? It's all very internal.
Yeah.
But fire sign emotions, they're much more about, outward expression.
It's like they wear their hearts on their sleeves.
In a way.
Yeah.
It's less about introspection and more about shared experiences.
The excitement of new adventures.
Oh, yeah, definitely. It's about being present in the moment, embracing the intensity of life.
So instead of a quiet night in, they're more likely to just be like, bungee jumping, let's go.
You got it. And, it goes back to those ruling planets again.
Yeah, eighth, right.
Aries with Mars is all about taking action, seizing the day.
Yeah, carpe diem.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Sagittarius with Jupiter, it's about constantly expanding, exploring new horizons,
Whether that's literally traveling the world or just, like, diving into a new book.
Exactly. So both of them are just wired for adventure.
Adventurous spirits, for sure.
Totally. And what's really cool is this source says that being with a Sagittarius can actually elevate an Aries' entire value system.
Whoa, okay, hold on. Now that's interesting. How does that work?
Well, think about how Aries, early on, views things like honor and heroism.
It's pretty black and white, right? Very straightforward.
Yeah. It's about personal action, doing the right thing.
Like a knight in shining armor.
Totally. But Sagittarius, they come in with this broader perspective.
They challenge Aries to think bigger.
Exactly. It's less about being a lone wolf and more about using your strengths for a larger purpose.
Like, how do your actions impact the world around you?
Yeah. Sagittarius is all about that big picture thinking.
So it's like they bring this sense of with great power comes great responsibility.
Exactly. It's like having a personal philosopher by your side, challenging you to be your best self.
That's pretty incredible. But I have to imagine this pairing isn't without its challenges, right?
Of course not.
Yeah.
No relationship is perfect, right?
What are some things our listeners should watch out for? Like, where might things go wrong?
One big thing is how they process information. It's totally different.
Oh, okay. How so?
Well, Aries, because of that Mars influence, is very direct.
Right to the point. No beating around the bush.
Exactly. But Sagittarius, they're all over the place, in a good way.
It's that Jupiterian expansiveness.
Yes, they jump between ideas, make connections, and Aries might not even see, you know?
That can be frustrating for an Aries who just wants things to be straightforward.
It can be. If they aren't careful, those communication differences can cause some real friction.
So it's important for them to recognize that and try to be understanding of each other's styles.
Absolutely. It's about respecting those differences, even when they're frustrating.
Communication is key in any relationship.
Couldn't agree more. And luckily, both Aries and Sagittarius have a secret weapon. Honesty.
Right. Because even if they disagree on how to get there,
They're both ultimately seeking the truth.
that's so important.
It really is. And
Yeah.
because of that shared value, they can clear the air pretty quickly.
Yeah, no holding grudges.
Exactly. And that's what allows them to turn those disagreements into opportunities for growth.
It's like their honesty is the foundation for something really special.
It really is. And it's not just about navigating those challenges, it's about celebrating the things they have in common, too.
Like that shared love of adventure, that zest for life.
Absolutely. Remember that line from the source about being as happy grabbing a coffee as they would be bungee jumping?
Oh, yeah, that's classic. It really is. It's like they don't need to prove anything.
Right. It's not about the activity itself. It's about the energy they bring to it.
Exactly. And that shared energy is so key, especially because, both Aries and Sagittarius are pretty independent.
Oh, for sure. They need their space.
So they need a partner who can not only keep up with them,
but who also understands when they need to do their own thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's about finding that balance, that mutual respect.
Absolutely. And that's something I really appreciate about this source. It emphasizes that, a successful Aries-Sagittarius relationship, it's not about two halves becoming a whole. It's about two whole individuals choosing to walk alongside each other.
I love that. So as we wrap up this deep dive, is there anything else our listeners should keep in mind if they're navigating this fiery dynamic themselves?
I think the biggest takeaway is that honesty really is their superpower.
It keeps coming back to that, doesn't it?
It does. Because it allows them to address those differences, to clear the air and move forward.
And because they're both so growth-oriented?
Exactly. Those tough conversations become opportunities to learn and evolve together.
So it's about embracing that fiery energy with all its ups and downs.
Absolutely. It's about being honest, being open, and being willing to grow.
Beautifully said. Well, that's all the time we have for today's deep dive. What an amazing exploration, right?
It really was. I always learn so much from these conversations.
Me too. And listeners, we want to hear from you. Have you experienced this Aries-Sagittarius dynamic firsthand? Share your stories, your insights, your burning questions. We're all ears. Until next time, keep those conversations sparking.